Hey everybody, welcome to 2024, and today we're bouncing off with the top 10 movies of 2023. I'm sorry this video took so long to come out. I had to rewatch all these movies, deal with personal stuff around the holidays, but I'm happy for it to finally be here. And I'm going to start off kind of with a quick little honorable mentions segment. There's two movies that didn't make my cut, but as I was going back through all the films I'd seen this year and enjoyed, I felt they were worth mentioning. And that was Barbie and Cocaine Bear. Which are both very different, but I wanted to do just a quick little shout out right at the start of this video and say how much I liked both of those movies, and that just for my own personal enjoyment of some other films or nostalgia and things like that, they just didn't make my personal top 10. But I really did enjoy both of those movies. I thought Barbie was hysterical and very heartfelt, and Cocaine Bear was just dumb fun, which is never to be underestimated in a film. It can take it a long way. So while both of those didn't make the list, they're definitely worth shouting out here at the start. So please check those out, along with these 10 films that I'm about to get into right now. Thank you all for an amazing last year. I'm so excited to share these with you, and let's jump right on into it.
We're the Mario Brothers, and plumbing's a game. We're not like the others who get all the fame. When your sink is in trouble, you could call us on the double. We're faster than the others, you'll be hooked on the brothers.
Thank you, Super Mario Bros. It seems like the only thing you haven't drained is my bank account.
Yeah.
Never underestimate nostalgia. Yes, Super Mario movie's not perfect, but it earns this spot just because I grew up playing Mario. It shows a lot of reverence to the original franchises, plays a lot of nice little musical cues, shows me a lot of cool visuals of things I love, and it gives me just a fun movie to turn on and enjoy and point at the screen with and go, oh my gosh, it's that or that or that. You know, from the games and such. It's just a good time. It's not the perfect film, no, but for a guy like me who grew up playing a lot of Mario with his family and friends, it's the perfect cozy film. And for that, I'm going to top my list off with it.
Gonna get me fired. This is your Rubicon. Do not cross the Rubicon.
The Holdovers.
If it wasn't for The Holdovers being rated R, I think it would be an instant Christmas classic. It's kind of a little bit somber, but it still has this warm fireplace feel to it. It follows Paul Giamatti's character as he tries to take care of the Holdovers at a boarding school who don't get to go home for Christmas. I don't really want to give a lot away, because a lot of this movie's fun twists and turns are what make it so interesting, and so gripping considering it's mostly a day in the life of a kid getting held over at Christmas. But I found Angus to be really relatable in some weird ways. Even if you can't relate to him directly, you understand his angst, and Paul Giamatti's performance is incredible and just really compelling as a professor who may not have had the life he exactly wanted, but is now stuck with something, and you see, oh, even though he's the grumpy old professor, there's a lot of love in his heart as well. I think it's a very interesting film, a very unique Christmas movie, and I do highly recommend you check it out, even though the Christmas season has passed. I really liked The Holdovers, and it was a really fun time, and I even was hugely laughing out loud at certain moments, especially for those who've seen it. A certain scene in a gymnasium had me cracking up when it happened. So it's funny, emotional, potent, and it'll stick in your head for a long time and remind you what real Christmas cheer is all about. I highly recommend The Holdovers.
Right now, you go left, I go. What the heck, man? I said go left. I got it.
A lot of movies have attempted to model or ride the coattails of the Spiderverse animation style ever since 2018, but Mutant Mayhem is the first film to do it in a unique and interesting way that also self-identifies what the whole film is truly about. Unlike Spiderverse, where it's sleek, sexy, and pays homage to Steve Ditko's, art style, Mutant Mayhem is a little more rough around the edges in an intentional way. There's some very gross-looking characters, some very gross moments, some very edgy, kind of dark, gritty moments, that all represents the sewers of New York where the turtles have grown up, how they feel viewed by the whole rest of the world, and in one case even the audience, and how, in almost a Nightmare Before Christmas-esque way, this thing that at first is kind of turning you off and seems a little off-putting really has a lot of heart behind it. Mutant Mayhem was a great time, easily one of the prettiest animated films to come out this year, and by the end of the movie, you'll just have a big smile on your face, and you'll be saying, "Cowabunga, dude," the whole way home.
This is what it takes if you want to succeed.
Ever watched a Hitman film and wish it was more realistic? Well then, The Killer is the film for you, and is at my number 7 spot. I thought Michael Fassbender was absolutely electric in this movie. It was so much fun to watch him, quite literally, run around and create all these Rube Goldberg machines of death. I mean, he made carrying a trash can interesting in this film. David Fincher's done a great job. The soundtrack is utterly heart-pounding and super suspenseful, and it's the most realistic assassin film I've ever seen, and also the most exciting at the same time. You really feel the stakes, and everything's just really interesting all the way up until the last moments of the film. I utterly loved it, and I highly recommend The Killer, especially if you're in the mood for some suave, subtle, stealthy action. Definitely a good pick. Mission Impossible was definitely the last franchise that I thought would reinvent itself this year, but oh my gosh, did I love Dead Reckoning Part 1, and it felt so fresh. Ever since Ghost Protocol, I thought the movies have started getting better and better, but this one truly takes it to another level. It's very modern and interesting, definitely different than what I was expecting, but also still in the same vein of what makes me love that franchise. I particularly enjoyed how they made the villain compelling to even the most normal person in today's society. It's really, really interesting and really, how would I say it? Tech savvy also, in a way. I don't know how else to describe it without giving stuff away, but I definitely recommend checking it out. Tom Cruise is great as always. Most of the cast from Fallout is back, along with some newcomers who are absolutely incredible. Specifically, I can't think of her name right now, but the lady who's Peggy in the Avengers and Captain America games, and also Agent Carter, Peggy Carter. She's in this, and she's utterly phenomenal. And I think she's a great addition to the cast. Her chemistry with Tom Cruise was really, really good. And I highly recommend everybody check out Dead Reckoning Part 1. I'm still mad that it's a Part 1. I just can't wait for Part 2. It's super exciting, and the cliffhanger it leaves you with is just mind-blowing. And that's not even mentioning Tom Cruise literally driving the motorcycle off the cliff for the stunt. Utterly incredible, amazing action, so much fun.
You are the man who gave them the power to destroy themselves. And the world is not prepared. 8, 7, 6, 5.
Even though theory will only take you so far, Oppenheimer soars to great heights, obviously from its box office, and also from its incredible writing and storytelling. I think Christopher Nolan really balances a very controversial figure well. Oppenheimer is a controversial guy amongst lots of people across the world, whether you're American or you're Japanese or anything. It's a tough subject to talk about, and I think that the movie does it with a really beautiful grace. It shows things honestly, brutally, and makes us accept our own shortcomings in other things we do in our lives. By watching other humans, we see our own flaws in other people. And we also see desperation, interest, greed, all these things. And the movie balances it so, so well. I really loved Oppenheimer, and I think that it, as much as it is a emotionally gripping film, can also be gut-wrenching in the best ways, if that makes sense. It shows us an ugly side of humanity, but also reminds us why we all band together, and why we also have to always remember the past, or else we'll be forever cursed to repeat it. It's a great movie, and I highly recommend it. And the final line of the film still leaves me with chills to this day. Absolutely incredible. Maybe I'm a bit biased, but I utterly love Studio Ghibli, so it should be no surprise that The Boy and the Heron is in my top 5. I utterly loved it. No, it's not my favorite Ghibli film. That'll always be Princess Mononoke. I have a real soft spot for that movie. But it's definitely up there. The more I think about it, and the more times I've seen it, the more I love this movie. The more it stands out to me and really hits me in the heartstrings. So much about it is beautiful, gorgeous, and makes you think about your life. And in a really nice way, too. When I left this film, I felt better for having seen it. And that's something you can't always say about movies. They don't always have this impact that sticks with you. But when I think about the message that The Boy and the Heron leaves you with, like of how you want to live and what do you want to create and what do you want to pass on in your life, I think it's great. And I have a big smile on my face when I think about it. And I think of all the things I want to do with my life. And I hope that if you guys choose to check this one out, you'll feel that same way too. It's an amazing film, one of Japan's best animation achievements, obviously by the master himself. It's gorgeous, it's beautiful, it leaves the biggest smile on my face. I love the movie so much, and I highly recommend you check it out. Really, really a good time. Love it. And if you haven't seen any of the other Studio Ghibli films, definitely check those out too. Absolute classics. Godzilla Minus One was kind of a sucker punch for me. I really wasn't expecting to love the movie. I'd heard about it, sure, but after having seen it 2 or 3 times now, oh my gosh, I loved it. I mean, Godzilla Minus One is kind of a war movie more than it is a Godzilla film, as I said in my review, but it balances the two so well and has just enough Godzilla to keep you enthralled and just enough characters to keep you committed and caring. It's such an emotional experience, which I really didn't expect. About, is your war over? How do you want to move on? Can you move on from war? And what Godzilla truly represents from the perspective of war, just like the original film did back in 1954. And in a lot of ways, this is kind of a remake of that movie, in a modern reimagining with a modern sensibility. And yet at the same time, it still keeps that classic monster movie feel. Aw man, when Godzilla's throwing trains and cars around and it's playing that old school theme, nothing beats it. It's an absolute must-watch in my opinion, and it starts off the top 3 of my list. Now let's get into the top 2, which were very neck and neck, and it took me a while to really pick which one I liked the most, but after a lot of thinking, I finally decided what it should be, so here we go. I think Across the Spiderverse surpasses its predecessor in animation quality and in narrative theme. I loved Into the Spider-Verse, it's one of my favorite movies, but Across the Spider-Verse, in my opinion, is just simply better. It's amazing. No pun intended. It's such a good movie. It's so beautiful, stylized, exciting, exhilarating. It's one of the best animated films I've ever seen. It truly feels not like I felt with Into the Spider-Verse, where I'm watching a moving comic book, but with this one, I feel like I am part of that comic book. So many amazing little references and nods. The animation just sucks you right in, and you're thrilled the whole way through. I love the new additions of characters like Spider-Man 2099 and The Spot. They're both amazing, and Oscar Isaac does a great job as 2099. Jason Schwartzman too is The Spot, but particularly loved 2099. Although there is one scene, if you've seen the movie, with The Spot where he's in like a lab kind of thing with a bunch of the other Spider-Men. Now that scene, oh, that was awesome. The animation quality in the film is incredible. The storytelling is as good as always. And I like how the storytelling is almost fourth wall breaking, with themes of how the audience feels about Miles or has in the past. Stuff like that is just so great when it's in movies, because it adds so many layers and so much enjoyment on an emotional, action, and sometimes just a fan level. It's so cool, and so much about this movie is an enjoyment and love for comics personified, specifically Spider-Man. And I love Spider-Man, so what can I say? I'm biased, but it's so good. But despite all that love, and probably to the surprise of some of my viewers, it's at number 2, not 1. I rewatched my number 1 pick and my number 2 pick multiple times to make sure I was really happy with how I was sitting the films. And after much deliberation, I decided that as much as I love Spidey, there's a certain animal lover who takes my number 1 spot this year, and I just can't deny it. John Wick Chapter 4 just might be my favorite action film ever. I've never seen a movie become, quite literally, a live-action anime so well. From the color grading, to the cinematography, to the action sequencing, and to the emotional gut-punching moments, John Wick Chapter 4 takes a franchise that I already loved and, in my opinion, perfects it. Sure, there may be a chance we get to see more John Wick movies down the line, and I'm not against that. I love good movies. But at the same time, if we leave it here on Chapter 4, I can't think of a better bow to tie the franchise off with. It's sexy, awesome, stunning, grueling, cruel, brutal. Any adjective you could think of, you can apply to this movie. Whether negative or positive, there's so much hope, happiness, joy, and honor in this movie. Friendship is a key theme even to an extent, which is weird for a movie like this, and yet at the same time, it works so incredibly well. There's so many amazing sequences, particularly the entire Paris sequence is just awesome. And the raid on Osaka Continental, I almost said hotel, but Hotel Continental, phenomenal. Such great work. Chad Stileski is an incredible director, and I can't wait to see him do so many more movies. I know he's attached to Highlander, said he was interested in doing a Blade film one day. I just let that man do whatever he wants. And I know he's working with Watanabe, who did, excuse my mispronunciation, but Shirichiro, I think is how you say it, Watanabe, who did Cowboy Bebop. He's working with him on Lazarus as his action coordinator and director. So cool, so exciting. And Studio Map is animating that, so I'm definitely looking forward to that anime, and you'll totally see a review of it on the channel. So yeah, Stileski's amazing. Keanu Reeves, as always, is charming and yeah, kind of awesome, silent John Wick. You just can't love it. All of this started from a puppy, and it's an unbelievable thrill ride that I just loved. And there's a specific musical cue that I'm a real sucker for on the stair fight sequence, which I may even use as the intro clip for this, so we'll see. But yeah, John Wick 4 is my movie of the year. So much fun, so good. Definitely go see it if you haven't, and definitely watch the other 3 before you do. Love that movie to death. What an incredible masterpiece. Definitely one of the best films I've ever seen. And that brings my list to an end. Thank you all so much for watching. Again, I apologize for this taking so long to get out. It was so much work kind of putting it all together along with seeing family, and then I had gotten sick and just it's all excuses, but just felt like saying them anyway. But thank you all so much for watching. It's been so much fun making videos the past year, and jumping into 2024 now, I have so much new and exciting stuff that I can't wait to put out. It's really, really awesome to have so many of you listen, and I can't wait to greet even more of you in 2024. Peace and love, everybody. Watch good movies, consume good media, and chill out and have a cup of coffee. Thank you all so much. I will catch you in the next video, which will hopefully be out in the next few days. We will see. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.